Let's pretend you're at the senior center, or at the bookstore, or you're at Psychological Bike Shop, anywhere around that corner, right? Svedland and Pioneer. And someone came up to you and said, I'm not familiar with this town. How can I get to the Safeway? How can I go get groceries? It depends who's asking. You know what you're capable of and what you're willing to do. But a senior with a walker with the family, a motorized wheelchair user, moms and dads pushing strollers, kids riding bikes, all of these methods of getting from A to B factor in to how you're going to describe the route you're going to have people take. So the idea behind the HAP Loop, the Homer All Ages and Abilities Pedestrian Pathway, is to create a path that is your best chance for all ages and all abilities to make it through that corridor. And in fact, it expands. Yes, it goes to Safeway, and yes, it goes to the senior center, but it also connects up to the medical district. You can take Main Street down into Old Town, come up through the trail system behind Islands and Oceans, Safeway, Lucky Shot, Klondike. Part of the idea behind this was that I asked a simple question of a lot of people, and some of them are in this room. How would you get from the senior center to the Safeway? And a lot of them said it depends. But a lot of them said, I take the Grog Shop Trail, and then I take Klondike, and then I take Lucky Shot. Because if the trails are icy, I know at least those roads have been plowed. Because I know if it's dark, I'm not gonna have to worry about being alone and on a trail that I don't really trust and can't really see. And if it's moose season and moose are active, I don't know how much I wanna be on these trails, especially if I'm alone, right? So the idea is you use the existing streets, connect them to existing trails, put in sidewalks where it's needed so that you can have an entire route system. So one of the things we can identify really quickly once you see the route that you want to take are the barriers. This is the entrance to the Grog Shop Trail, I call it, the Poop Deck Complex, imagine. Right? You can see how there is no accessibility. We need to fix it, obviously. Next slide. Main Street. People walk Main Street all the time. I want to have breakfast at Dunkin' House and go to the beach. Well, you got to compete with cars on a pretty busy road. In fact, if you want to ask yourself, how can I get from the library to the post office? It's like right there. Right? How do you do it if you're not really comfortably walking? You probably don't want to do it in a stroller. You probably don't want to do it with kids. If you're a wheelchair user or using a walker, you're going to have to deal with all of this, right? So it starts changing that mentality of routes and how to make them available to all. The city's transportation plan is coming out soon. It will be passed gloriously, without question, by planning. Thanks, Charlie, and City Council. Thanks, Donna. Out of that will be coming working groups to identify low-stress bicycle networks and all accessibility pedestrian routes. So I encourage you, if you know routes and mappings like you do with all you trails folks, you know routes. Help the city figure out routes. Last thing to do is just point out, not everybody dislikes Pioneer Avenue to walk on. This guy's awesome. If you haven't seen him before, he's on YouTube. He's one of my favorites. He does city walks, where he goes to a city and he walks around and gives you a tour for 40 minutes to an hour. And the idea is that you literally walk on the treadmill and you get to tour these beautiful cities. And we're talking Venice, we're talking Swiss Alps, we're talking Rome, Zion National Park, and we're talking basically the Homer HAP Loop. He literally walked that vision along Pioneer and around. Right? Pretty cool, pretty cool.
I'm 90% blind, so I'm not really looking at you, but that was awesome. I must say that last picture, as far as the way to get to the post office from the library, thanks to the city, they redesigned that Heath Street, and when it does get redone, there'll be a crosswalk with a bump out put in there. And so that is progress. And that came about through part of this walking plan. And I'm not gonna go over my walking plan, I have copies. It's an 18-page plan that I've been putting together since the 1st of May through a group called America Walks. And it encompasses mostly the downtown area, all of the downtown area, and focuses on pedestrian safety, connectivity, and health and wellness. Now, part of this, one of the actions in the plan is to put community benches throughout our community, placed in a series that people can extend their walkability. A lot of people can't walk more than a mile or two, you know, and they'd like to go like maybe to Omers, you know, from the other side of town, or they'd like to walk one of these nice trails that you put in and spend more time on it than just what their legs will allow. So if we put these community benches in, it extends the distance that people can walk. We have the largest aging population in the state. You know, it's getting more and more and more every year. So the more we can do to get people up and walking, the better. And one of the things we can do is these community bench programs. Now, I talked about this at the city council. I've actually, without soliciting it, been contacted already by a couple of community members who would like to financially support this community bench program. And within the city, they've been talking about, yeah, we could find some locations for this. So I'm gonna try to put together a committee, a short one, just community members that we could talk about where we might want to put these and the design that we want to have them so we could get a price and start having them made. So I would welcome your involvement in this plan, and if you have any questions, you can talk to me. Thank you.